Hi guys, so this is going to be my cream bun tutorial, and these are the things you're going to need. Clay, and a palette or something to put your paint on, yellow ochre paint or pastels, whatever you use, a toothpick, a nail file, and a knife. So let's get started. First off, we're going to make the cream bun. And this is a little too much, so I'm going to take a little. And you can use air dry clay, you can use polymer clay, you can use whatever you want for this. We're going to roll it into a ball. And make sure there's no lines or creases. And kind of make it into a roundish shape. Or if you want your bun to be totally round, that's okay too. And it's kind of hard to do this looking through the camera. So I'm going to flatten it out a bit. And with air dry clay, of this type anyways, I'm using a mix of stone powder clay and lightweight clay. If you have some lines, you can just smooth them out with your finger. If that's not going too well, you can take some water and smooth it out, which should work just fine. And make sure there are no dust flecks on your clay because that will dry. And sorry about the shadow there. It's the sun time of day. Should have done this earlier in the morning. Anyway, so once you get the shape, looks about right. Make sure you smooth it out. And try not to have too many cornerish types, so you can kind of make it into a dome shape too, if you're making it into a magnet or something, which is what I like to do with mine. Even if you make them into straps, it might be nice to have it flat. Anyways, so kind of make it into an ovalish shape. I mean, it can be any shape that you want it to be, of course. And then, I like to do this first. You're going to take your toothpick and you're just going to poke a hole. If you can see with one that's already dry. I'm just going to poke a hole. It doesn't really matter how big it is. It's just to keep the cream in when you use it. So, don't want to make it too big, but kind of make it a little bit deep and make the mouth a little wide like that. And then you're going to take your knife or razor blade or whatever you want to use, and I like to make an X first of all to keep it even. Then I just like to make a line on each side. Try to keep them as even as you can. And just press down lightly. And then if your clay cracks or anything, you can just kind of press it down with your finger. Or you can take a Q-tip with some water and smooth it down. And that's all it is to make the shape. And if your circle or your hole gets a little smushed, just take your toothpick and again line it up. And then you're going to let this sit for maybe a day. I like to let this sit for 2 days, one day like this, and then the second day I flip it over because this side's usually not dry yet. So maybe about 2 days to dry. And then here are the ones that have dried. And now we're going to color our cream buns. So take your little art palette. And, oops, I forgot to mention it, but you're going to need a makeup makeup sponge, sorry. And take your paint and if you've seen my cupcake tutorial, you'll know this method. And you're just going to take your makeup brush, and if you have some scrap newspaper or scrap paper, anything works, just set it down. And you're going to dab your makeup brush just a little, and then you're going to dab it on the newspaper until you get a pretty light color. You can't go too light. You can always add more paint, but if you get too dark, you're going to get bad smudges. Oops, almost not dry. So you're going to take your dry clay, and I forgot to mention this. Sorry, if it's kind of lumpy after it dries, you just take your nail file and smooth down the lumpy parts, just like you do with resin. So I like the bottom flat, so I kind of go over that a bit, and I try to keep it round, and you can get your shape like that. I would not suggest doing this with just lightweight clay. I do this because it's stone powder clay, and I don't know if you can do this with polymer clay, so I'm kind of assuming that it only works for this method. So anyways, after you have paint dabbed onto your makeup sponge, sorry it's so messy, just kind of dab it over the top until you get a nice color. And sorry for the shadows, so I'm just going to go ahead and color them. Okay, so as you can see, I got them colored, and I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but you're also going to need brown paint, and you're going to need even less of this. Just a little drop is fine, and I'm just going to put it on the edge here, and then I'm going to take the other side of my makeup brush, I keep calling it a brush, makeup sponge, and just going to dab it on your newspaper again, and you want it really light, so dab it a lot, and then you're just going to brush it over the top of your cream bun, just lightly though, because it smudges pretty easily. And if you get it too dark, you can just take a little bit of the yellow and dab it over the top again. That's what it looks like. And if you want, you can do a little on the bottom. Just a little though. And you're going to do that to all of your cream buns. Ta-da! So, here they are, and this is how you make your cream buns and how you color them. So next we're going to go on to filling them and onto the powdered sugar. I think I'm going to need to remake this video. I'm forgetting so many things, and the lighting's horrible. You're going to need white paint and a toothbrush. And also later on for the cream, you're going to need white air dry clay and Bond, or Elmer's glue. Take your white paint, and just a dab is fine. And then spread out your newspaper so you don't get paint on your work area. And then, this is the fun part, you're going to take your toothbrush and dab it into the paint. And definitely make sure to spread the newspaper or you're going to get in trouble. Dab it for a little bit, and then you're going to take your thumb over the toothbrush and you're just going to spray. And this is how I do my powdered snow, but powdered sugar. I'm not having a good day. And just repeat that. I guess maybe a little more paint on the toothbrush would be okay. Just keep repeating that until you get the effect that you want. And then there's another method that is not quite so messy, but I don't like it as well. You can take a sponge, and this is the rough side of a sponge. It's just a dishwashing sponge. And you can dab it in your white paint, and then dab it off a little bit. Then you just kind of dab it on top of your donut. But it gives it too much of a flat effect. And I think the toothbrush looks better. So you can do this, but I would suggest using the toothbrush. You're going to need another cup or palette for your white clay, and I use Deco clay because you're just using it to fill in the cup or donut. Sorry, I need to script out my videos. I've been planning this for so long, and I had it all planned out, but I didn't plan what I would say, so, and this isn't going well. So, anyways, if you don't like this video, let me know and I'll remake it. So, tear up your white Deco, then you're going to be adding some white Bond. And I can't really tell you how much, not quite equal amounts, but quite a bit. And you can also add water, and I'm almost out of Bond. take your toothpick, and I have glue all over my hands, and just kind of smush it together. Try not to poke a hole in your foil if that's what you're using, like me. And mix it up till you get kind of a whipped cream effect. And take your donut and just take a little bit of your whipped cream and just stuff it into the hole. And this is to keep it from falling out because there's bond mixed in with your clay, and this will prevent the whipped cream from just falling off. So just going to smooth it over the edge, and then once you get your hole filled, and just kind of texture it until you get the amount that you want. And as I'm sure you saw at the beginning of the video, I made a pink one, and you can do this by just coloring your whipped cream mix, but I put too much red in this one. It should have been a little less. But anyways, if you want colored cream, that's how you do it. And here are the cream rolls. These are the ones that I just filled. Put lots of cream in them. And if you're going for even more realistic effects, you can take a round cookie cutter and cut out a bite there. And that would look amazing too. These are the ones that are dry. And I would give this another day to dry. So maybe it takes about 3 days total to make these cream buns. So I'll let this guy sit and dry. And yeah, so that's how I make my cream buns. Sorry, my explanations were so horrible and I kept forgetting things. If this is too horrible, I'll remake it later on, so let me know. And let me know what other things you'd like me to introduce, and I'll try to be more organized about it. Thanks for watching. Bye!